Hey guys, Matt here. So today I thought I'd film a quick video going over about how I went from zero coding experience and got my first job as a web developer. So a bit about me now. I've been working as a web dev for about just coming up to 2 years. 2 years in July actually, but that was not from an IT background and learnt through COVID. What I previously did was work in the fitness industry, mainly working in gyms throughout about a decade of my life, actually. So I was pretty sure that was the route I was going to go, but managed to requalify, and here I am, like building websites for a living, which is absolutely something that I wouldn't have thought I would be doing ever, really. I always thought as IT as something you had to really be like molded into, really, but there's so many different aspects, and yeah, absolutely found my place where I'm enjoying it. So a bit about me and my lack of IT background, I guess. I think the most qualification like kind of thing I have in IT is a GCSE in ICT I got in 2007 at an E. So not exactly the best grade, you could say. Probably enough to say that I wrote my name on the paper when I got the exam, but it wasn't the most interesting of courses. It was building an Access database and an Excel form sheet, but essentially every mouse click you did was you had to do a thing, take a screenshot, put that in a Word document, and it was so mind-numbing. Coming from like a kid that was interested in computer games, building computers with my dad, and my dad like writing software as well, it was such a like illusion-shattering experience for me. It was so disheartening. So it's kind of why I ended up following my lifeguarding and going up through management that way. But obviously, as you're aware and I'm aware, the coronavirus pandemic had wonderful ramifications for the fitness industry. Whilst that was happening and the first lockdown was going on, I was honestly sinking a lot of my time into World of Warcraft. So doing that for about 6 weeks straight, and then my friend messaged me seeing how much time I was spending on that game and was saying, do you want to do something more productive? I have a Udemy course in web development. So I was like, yeah, sure. What's the harm in me actually learning a skill instead of playing a paladin better? I'm sure my guild would probably appreciate me playing my paladin better, but in hindsight, it was probably not the best career path to be taking. So the Udemy course I ended up taking actually was Full Stack Web Development by the App Brewery, a London-based kind of crash course thing, as I had seen crash courses online before, and they were a couple of grand, and I didn't really have a couple of grand to spend towards a course. So a £10, well, my friend paid £10 course, was kind of the ideal situation to go. So that was like my real start in web development and coding in general. As before that, it was MySpace, which isn't really anything I'd put on my portfolio now, as that's luckily lost to the ages. So going through the Udemy course every day to try and keep active in it, I did actually end up burning out like straight away. I went from, say, one job of playing World of Warcraft to another one which was trying to learn to code, and it was a bit disheartening about like some things I was trying to get and understand and apply, but I think it was probably key to realize and see the signs of burnout and tutorial hell that early on as well. I'm totally sympathetic to how you can end up in tutorial hell at that point in your career, where you have a problem and you're like, well, I've seen this on a video before, I'll go find that video and reference it. Or I can only build a nav bar or a certain element on a page when referencing a video. It is so hard to get out of. Absolutely insane. So I managed to work through this Udemy course, get towards the end, and I was like, well, I should probably try and find a job, as I was not looking forward to the prospects of going back to the gym. And then doing my research and watching YouTube videos online and seeing how much money can be made in tech, it was such a, like, well, it was an appealing job career prospect for me. So I got my CV in, like, as I see, check, and applied to a few jobs. In my first job application, I absolutely bombed. So it was awful. I interviewed, I believe, all right, because I managed to pass that bit. And then it was given a problem, and I distinctly remember it. I was given a shopping cart of items, and in JavaScript I had to add tags, calculate carts, and then print it at the end, essentially. And it was like, you have 45 minutes to do this, and I did not take 45 minutes. I took about an hour and a half on this process. I absolutely butchered the code. Knowing what I know now and looking back, I'm surprised they even humoured it. But I got feedback, and don't recommend this. I have still not read that feedback. I'm so embarrassed. It's somewhere on my computer. Maybe I'll read it one day live. But it was just so disheartening for me that I'd got rejected and knew that I was so struggling with that. But it kind of did honestly set me back a bit. So I had built a few things, got like a bit of a GitHub together, got a bit of a portfolio together. But as soon as that first hurdle of I've been rejected from a job hit me, it was so tough to get over that and be like, okay, apply to the second job. That was such like a mental block for me, hard to overcome that way. I actually, after that, was like, maybe this isn't for me. Like the self-doubt really kicking in, and applied to be a delivery driver, as that was all the craze in lockdown as well, being a delivery driver. So managed to get a job at that, and it was just having like the drive to like wake up and do something, and then I've got limited time to learn to code or work on my portfolio in the afternoon was a big motivator for me. Whereas I had all the time in the world previously, I then had less time, and it then made me concentrate more. I did dabble in starting from web dev and looking at games dev and app dev, stuff like that, but it was just so diluting my skill set, really. Why would anyone want to hire someone that knows how to do an if statement in 7 different languages when they can get someone that knows like 7 unrelated languages, even when they can get someone who is an expert in one? It's a no-brainer there. But managed to like keep learning, keep the process up of learning React, HTML, JavaScript, CSS as well. And then what I found was actually build along videos quite helpful. So actually watched a lot of Clever Programmer, where it was working through with a live stream of them working for a program, which was pretty good information. But in a 4-hour live stream, you would get about 40 minutes of information, and you would have to filter out donations and such like that. It was definitely a repetition thing. It did seem a bit more tutorial hell, where it did come to the case of, oh, I can only build it with this person instructing me. But it was such a confidence builder, and built these projects for my CV. My portfolio, I actually used a template off online. So I used that, customized it, put that up online, and after working the delivery job for about 6 months and waking up and leaving for 4:30 a.m. and getting back to the house at 8 p.m, I was kind of like, well, this is not where I want to be in my life, and was kind of the fire up behind me to get me motivated to apply for jobs again. So actually managed to apply for a junior web dev position over at a local design company. So I was actually their first employee. Absolutely great two guys I worked for, taught me a lot. But honestly, the interview, maybe I'm bad at interviews, I'm not too sure. I've only done 3 in 3 parts. One was JavaScript, which was a switch statement. I was given 10 minutes for that, did it in 5, and then gave feedback of like, I'm really confident in this. CSS was kind of center of div, standard stuff, but I always find, still with CSS now, I'm like, is this a solution? And going into Chrome tools and finding the one that works and using that. And then the last one was in PHP, as this company worked in WordPress. Never really probably heard of WordPress or used WordPress at this point in my web dev career. I had just been hard coding sites, so it was work through a number of in an array. I'll post it below. So work through a number array and see and give an answer of what the number was, essentially. I literally wrote a comment that said, I have not even seen PHP code before. And speaking to the guy after, I only got the job because of my confidence in the JavaScript and kind of like how I presented myself in the interview and like the assertiveness on that. I've done a lot of sales before, in-person gym sales. So in-person is quite natural for me, which is quite a good skill to have, but the technical interviews I definitely need to work on if I'm going to do any more of those in the future. But yeah, that's kind of a abridged version of how I got my first job in the IT industry. I did write a Medium article on this and maybe going over a few things that I missed in this video. I'll leave a link to that down below. But yeah, if you have any other questions for me about specifics on my job or what I've done since, what tech stacks I've been working in, tutorials, I've learned quite a lot of stuff of knowledge that I want to share in WordPress and other frameworks and opinions. Let me know. Drop a comment, like and subscribe, all of that, I guess. But yeah, just wanted to break the ice and share a brief overview of my journey during coronavirus. I always say I'm just a COVID coder. That's which seems to get a few chuckles of how I learned to code. All right, thanks for listening and see ya.